Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm really excited to bring this one to you today. Now this is going to be a little bit different format than I normally do because today I am showing you or sharing with you a live Q&A that I did with Ryan Adams over at Natural Weight Loss Mastery. We did this Q&A interview over on Instagram about a week and a half ago, and it is so valuable. If you have any questions about health and really more specifically weight loss, you're going to want to watch this. It's full of information. You may have been wondering like why you're at a plateau, why can't you lose weight as a vegan? Pretty much all those things are answered in this video, so I highly recommend you stick around till the end and watch it all. Now, part of this interview, just a couple minutes of the beginning, I did include at the end of my video from Friday. So if you saw it, just feel free to fast forward. I think it's about 5 or 7 minutes, but I did include a timestamp. I tried to include that in this video so you kind of know what minute of the video is which question. So I hope I was able to do that correctly for you. So yeah, if you saw some of this from Friday, just fast forward. But again, you're gonna wanna watch the whole thing because there's just so much valuable information in here if you're trying to lose weight. All right, so let's go ahead and get to this video. And before I do, I just wanna say, if you're not following Ryan Adams over at Natural Weight Loss Mastery, his YouTube page and his Instagram account, which I've linked below, you need to be doing it. He has so much information out there, valuable information that's free. Go ahead and follow him. And after you see the video, you're probably gonna want to anyway, because he's the best. So anyway, I hope y'all have a good day. I will see you next Monday. Keep believing in yourself. You got this. Health and wellness doesn't have to be that complicated. Just keep things as simple as you can. And one foot in front of the other. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye. Here we go. Go live with Ryan. Let's see if this works. Maybe you have to. Yay!
I mean, awesome. for two people who work more or less exclusively online, that was disgraceful.
I'm pretty embarrassed, but that's okay.
Here we are.
I'm so excited. I feel like I'm meeting you for like the first time after all the times we've talked on the phone. Like we've never talked like this.
Yeah, it feels nostalgic, doesn't it? So thank you very much. And the sun is shining, which obviously happens a lot for you in Texas, but here in the UK, that's a rare thing. So I'm taking it as a good sign. I'm feeling good. And happy to talk to you. Thanks for having me on, T.
Of course, this is good. We have quite a bit of questions. And then you probably heard me, but I told everyone that if they didn't have a chance to ask a question, to just drop it below. And we can maybe answer some of those, or you can.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people really want to hear from you. So I'm just going to jump right in because I want to try to keep this to like an hour because my husband's watching my kids and I don't know how long that's going to last. So let's just get right into it. This first question. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who don't know Ryan, let me just say this. He is an amazing vegan weight loss coach, if not the best. I mean, I'm kind of biased, but I'm pretty sure you're like the best. And he has an awesome YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed, I highly recommend going and subscribing, and also following his Instagram page because he gives so much information for free. I mean, I've seen so many of your videos, but there's so many more that I've never seen because you have so much awesome information. So if you want to find an answer to your question, I would almost guarantee that he has it on that channel. So I would go and subscribe and just have a blast binge watching all his videos if you haven't already. So let's go ahead and we're going to start with the first question. It says, is there a way to kickstart weight loss? I've been doing this for a few months and I'm losing motivation.
Well, there's two things that immediately spring to mind there for me. It's a good question. The first is, when you talk about kickstarting weight loss, to me, that immediately is on more of the strategy side, more of the action side. And then there's what you said about motivation, which if I just heard the first part of the question, it would totally change my answer. But then there's what you said about motivation, which is also something I've spoken about. I know you've heard me talk about it quite a lot, T. motivation is one of those things because it's so feeling based. It's very ethereal. It comes and it goes because it's a feeling, like feelings do. And so there isn't really a permanence, for want of a better word, a consistency to motivation. But then you're also talking about kickstarting weight loss. So that's more with a strategy side. So presumably the person that's asked this question, obviously we don't sadly have so much context, but presumably the person that started this question, they are trying to lose weight right now. But there is a difference between trying to lose weight and losing some weight, but then stopping because you lack motivation. And that's a big difference from trying to lose weight and you're not losing any weight whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So that's what we would need to understand about that person. So let's say that person is currently trying to lose some weight, but they're not, which is, I think, the first part of the question. In that case, we've got to do a full diet diagnosis, obviously. But Tia, the thing you and I talk about so much, and we don't always say this term, but the thing we're always talking about, and it goes across the board with our advice, is fiber. Fiber is just, we are so deficient. The US really deficient in fiber. The UK, frankly, isn't too far behind, actually, Tia. But we are so fiber deficient, and fiber, from a weight loss perspective, is a wonderful nutrient in its own right. But it's not just that. So many of the foods that are high in fiber, these whole nutrient-rich plant foods, so many of these foods that are high in fiber also have so many other wonderful qualities too, aside from just the fiber component. So the thing I would say, if you are struggling with weight loss right now, you know, it completely depends where you are. It completely depends where you're at in that journey, whether you've got 5 pounds to lose or 100 pounds to lose. There's so many differences. The one thing I'll say for the general person just starting out is there's a very good chance that your diet is deficient in fiber. You want to be looking at throwing as much fiber into your diet as you can take. And I actually say that with a bit of apprehension because bloating, gas digestive issues, we all know, we've all done it. If you haven't had beans in a very long time, we've all had issues with this. You know, Tia, without me saying it, you know. And
well,
so
yes, I do.
You have to be careful, but fiber is the key to that. Motivation, like I say, it's fleeting, it comes and it goes. You need to capitalize on it. But the thing I'll say about motivation, my most important advice on this, is don't have unrealistic expectations about it. Motivation is the spark to the engine, it's the ignition. Don't think it's going to be there forever. You need habits and discipline to take over, and that comes with consistency and repetition. Tia will attest to this.
Yeah, and actually, you're bringing up, you just released a video, I think I was watching it yesterday, a couple days ago. You're sick, and you were talking about how, you could easily, you were doing like a video every day for 30 days, and you could have easily decided like, oh, I'm not going to do this, I'm sick, I don't feel well, but you have discipline, and you were able to push through and not push yourself too much. You still rested and took care of yourself, but you wanted to get that video done, and you did. And the same thing goes with, let's say going for walks every day. If someone commits to going for a walk every day, I actually do 10,000 steps every day, and there are so many days where I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I think that's normal for people, but I made that commitment to myself. Yes, some days I'm motivated. Some days I'll watch your video or I'll see someone's Instagram page and I am like, oh my gosh, I'm putting my shoes on, Jordan, watch the kids, I'm going walking. But there are some days where I don't want to do it, but I do it anyway because I made that commitment to myself and I have discipline. And before you and I did any type of coaching, which by the way, some of you know, but some of you don't know, when I first started this journey, Ryan was my coach for 90 days. And he really helped me with the mental and emotional side of things. One of those things being just having discipline. Yes, again, it's great to be motivated, but you got to have that discipline. And so before coaching with you, I think I was someone who looked for motivation all the time to get me going or to get me back on the train, And now, like I was just saying, I love motivation. It's great to have. It's great to keep you going or get you going, but it's not what you need to get to your end goal. You've got to have that discipline. So
if I can, Tia, very, very quickly, because I know we spent already quite a long time on just this first question alone, but I think one of the misunderstandings that people have when they're very early on in the weight loss journey is they think that the people who have completed the journey or who are, let's say, further ahead, because the journey never ends, as you know, but those that are further ahead in that health journey and weight loss journey, one of the misunderstandings is that that person, whoever it is, whether it's yourself, whether it's myself, anyone online, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, the misunderstanding is that that person always is motivated. And we're here to tell you, just based on what you've said, we're absolutely not. There's nothing magical about me, and there's nothing magical about you. Well, there's a few things magical about you, but we're if you must. But the difference is, I'm still a human. I try not to let my emotions and feelings decide what is best for me. And that's what really, there's a lot of ways to define discipline. That's what it means to me. It's separating emotions and my mood and my headspace and motivation, quote unquote, from the actions that need to get done to take me further ahead to the person I want to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And the more you are consistent with discipline, these things become, it's your habit. It's your new habit. And that's the thing you want to, and we can know all there is to know about how to lose weight. But if we don't get rid of the bad habits, it's not going to stick and stay. And so the way to get rid of bad habits, the way to get new habits, this is just what I've learned, is to stay disciplined. Because the more consistent you are with it, it becomes a new habit.
It compounds. It's a snowball. Yeah,
absolutely. Love it. That was great. That's a great answer for me.
Okay, bye then.
See you later. Thanks. No. All right, let's see. This next question, and maybe we could both answer it. I don't know if it was for me, but you also lost weight. I mean, this is how you kind of came upon this whole thing. This next question is, how long did it take you to lose weight? So maybe you can explain your whole little weight loss situation.
Yeah, so for those that, I'll do it very quickly, concise bullet points, which is hard for me, Tia, with my mouth, as you know. But for anyone that doesn't know, you're just running into me for the first time. I was what many of you will understand this description, some of you won't. I was the classic gym bro. So I was this 18, 19-year-old kid at university, lifting weights, eating, and this is no exaggeration, 3 chicken breasts a day, can of tuna, straight from the can, this was. I was having the whey protein shakes, all the animal products and whatnot. I was a gym bro. I was working out in the gym. I was making those gains, man. I was making those gains. And it did work. I did actually, I've got to be fair on this. I did gain some muscle with it. But as you'll have seen from my photos, I put on some fat with it. I put on some serious fat with it. And I just got carried away and I got lost in it. And after about 2-3 years of doing that, I was 45 pounds heavier than I am today. No, 40 right now, heavier than I am today. And I just started getting more and more comments like, Ryan, you've done well with this. You have bulked up a bit. You're no longer that skinny kid, but you've taken it too far. You've gone to extremes. I mean, my neck was like this, Tia, and I was walking around like this. Honestly, it wasn't attractive. I don't know why. Yeah, you see them a lot, right? The gym bros. And, I learned a lot from that experience. And there's still things that I think I was right about back then. But my goodness, do I look back and go, Ryan, you plonker, as we say in the UK. What were you doing, mate? That was awful. And so I happened across, veganism went boom on YouTube in about 2015. People like Vegan Gains came to the fore and that sort of thing. And I wasn't actually an avid follower of his, but there was just more and more vegan content popping on YouTube. I saw a couple of those videos. This was also back in the day where blogs, you remember those, Tia? I know you've got a great one. But they're not. That's pretty rare for someone to have a thriving blog like yours. That doesn't happen much, right? Blogs were still a thing back in 2015. And I was reading all these articles and it planted, pardon the pun, the proverbial seed. And then within about a month or two, I was like, right, I'm fully going vegan. Not just this plant-based thing. I added more plants into my diet after I discovered those things. But I fully went vegan about 6 years ago now. And I see my weight loss as a vegan in 2 separate phases. I had an initial weight loss where I lost 25 pounds in the following 3 months, 12 weeks actually to be particular, after going vegan. So this took me to about October 2015. And then I lost about 15 to 20 pounds in like 2 years after that. So extremely slowly. So that's how I break down my journey. What about you?
I mean, just to kind of encompass the whole thing, I lost 50 pounds in about 10, 11 months. And I think I averaged about 1.5 pounds a month. A week.
A week, yeah.
Not a month. Although right now, it's about that slow. But, and some weeks I would lose, 3 pounds, but that's being generous. And some weeks I'd lose nothing. And you were with me. There was a handful of times where 3 weeks would go by and I would lose nothing.
Absolutely.
And I would be like, Ryan, and you were like, just stay patient. I don't think you're on a plateau. And then sure enough, that next week I would drop 3 pounds.
And so, yeah, I would say as a, at the time I was 39, a 39-year-old female, 1.5 pounds per week was great for me.
That's no joke.
I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing I try to tell people. I know a lot of, especially women, want weight loss quick, and I can understand that. But the thing is this slow weight loss teaches you so much. It teaches you, and at least it taught me, how to do it the right way. And you would always tell me, and I still remember this to this day, as long as I'm trending downward, that's what we want. Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
Yeah. That's the bottom line. I might not be losing, 3 pounds every week, but I was losing. And so that really helped me mentally, just stay the course. So there was a lot of things, but that was one of the things that helped me stay the course. Was you helped me realize, like, I'm trending down. I'm not going up. And it was great. But yeah, for me, it was about average 1.5 pounds a week. And I was happy with that. I think that's pretty normal, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you said something about sort of this slow weight loss, and you didn't use these words, but it is transformative because of the way it shapes your thinking and the sort of mindset that it takes you into, rather than being just about the immediate sort of instant gratification, as we call it, and whatnot. So I totally agree with you. But you can only really, and this is the big reframe, and stick with me because it's slightly abstract, but you can only really label your own progress as slow based on your standards of weight loss in the past. Mm-hmm. So for so many people, their biggest enemy with weight loss is this frame of reference that they have. They should drop 20 pounds in a month.
Yeah.
Which, again, if you're
that was one of my problems.
Yeah, so if you're 400 pounds, that might be realistic. But for most people, like with me, I was 40 pounds overweight. Now, I was overweight, but, I work with people that are upwards of 100 pounds overweight, 120 sometimes, maybe even more. And so that 40 pounds is naturally, because I'm a smaller person at that point, it's naturally going to be slower than it might be for someone else taking the same actions. So you've got to factor in context. Like if you're always comparing to someone else, and don't get me started on comparisons. I know you talk about that a lot as well. But if you're always comparing to that magical YouTuber who lost 80 pounds in 3 months, by the way, I don't know if that's a person, I've just made that up as an example, but there are stories like this.
I'm sure they're out there.
You're always going to be in trouble, especially if you've only got 20 pounds to lose.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And absolutely.
So you can always, you can always speed things up, but it's not always worth it. It's a cost-benefit analysis. You've got to think, right, what are the potential risks of me doing this and this and this to my strategy? Does that threaten the longevity of what I'm doing? And that's a question that I was often posing to you. There is a difference between genuinely being in a plateau, which I always say is about over 2 weeks, as long as there aren't other things that are obviously potentially causing that, like menstrual cycles, time of the month, medication you're on, like antibiotics and instant, or things that can increase water retention. There's a difference between that and just staying steady for like a week. Like if it's staying steady for a week, that isn't necessarily an argument you need to change anything. If it's over 2 weeks, if it's getting on 3 weeks, like with you, if it was slowing down, we would make changes as we needed. That's really key to say. But we were never in a hurry. We were never in a hurry to.
No. And I also was not, and you'll probably comment on this, I was not a big exerciser. I get asked that all the time. How much did you exercise? And I'm honest about it. I'm like, not a lot. I did it.
Not initially.
Not initially. And I didn't want to. I didn't want that. I think I grew up so much, like, just with this thought of, like, you have to work out to lose weight. And that is, and right before signing up with you, totally going off course here, but I think it's valuable. I, the year before, decided to become a runner, and still ate horribly, but I ran like 12 miles a week, and actually gained, I don't want to say weight, because, obviously you can gain weight from muscle. I gained fat. And so I was just really disgusted with the whole just workout to lose weight thing. And so, when I signed up with you, I just really focused on getting the good foods in my body and nutrition, and I dropped weight. Maybe not as quick as I wanted, but then as I started feeling better, I became just naturally more active. But anyway, that's the answer to that question. Let's see. My nutritionist said to stop juicing because it's too many hidden calories per cup. True?
It's not too many. The problem is that it might surprise you. So if you factored it into your meal plan, it's no issue whatsoever. I'm very pro juices and smoothies. I actually personally prefer juices over smoothies. That's just taste-wise, though. So the potential, I should say, because it's not a problem with juices, but the potential problem with juices is that you're taking out so many of the nutrients, you're taking out some of the fiber. And so therefore, you're getting calories, but you aren't getting as many nutrients as you would with a smoothie. That's the only difference between a juice and a smoothie. But the vast majority of juices are actually not particularly high in calories. So I can see where your nutritionist is coming from, but no, I pretty much strongly disagree on that. But of course, there's so much context. It depends how many juices you're having a day, how much, what goes in the juices, and so on.
Yeah.
But generally, I think juices are tremendous for weight loss and tremendous for getting plenty of nutrients in your diet.
Yeah. What about because my thoughts on juicing is I think it's great, nutrient-wise. But because of the lack of fiber, I know a lot of people will juice for lunch, let's say. And I actually experienced this before. I would have a juice for lunch or something, and I would be starving, and that would cause me to binge. Because I was getting so desperate when it was time for dinner or whatever, and I would snack more, things like that. So, what are your thoughts on that? The lack of fiber.
Juices should be a complement to the diet, not a meal.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you would say.
That's my simple answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Let's moving on. This person says, "I love Hungry Vegan Mama's channel. Thank you so much, and follow recipes and in the starch solution. But then I have a tendency towards depression and falling off the wagon. Haven't really lost any weight yet. I don't know what to do." I think this kind of goes back to just the whole motivation thing.
Maybe.
What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, there has to be a point where the person is being too patient for their own good. And that's what's happening, I think, if I'm not mistaken in this case, is the person in question is getting, by the sounds of it, discouraged. I don't think they actually said those words. I might be wrong, because it was a long question. But it sounds like they're getting it depends what the reason for you going off track is. If the reason for you going off track is that you're getting discouraged because you're not losing weight, you do need to make a change. You need to make a tweak. So I sort of alluded to this earlier. There's a very big difference between following a meal plan that actually creates weight loss, but you go off track, than following a meal plan that doesn't create any weight loss in the first place and then you go off track. Those two things are very different. So I think what this person needs to do, again, I still need to know more about them because I need to know how long they've been on track for. Because if it's just 3 days and they're not losing weight, then that's tough. And I'd grill that person if they were my client, because that is premature. But if we're talking 2-3 weeks and they've not lost a pound, then you need to make tweaks. The starch solution is a wonderful model, but it doesn't account for calories. It doesn't necessarily talk that much about macronutrient ratios. It could just be a change in fat or protein intake that can move the needle for this person. It doesn't put so much emphasis, sadly, on exercise, which, as much as I love the starch solution, that's one of my biggest criticisms, frankly, of Dr. McDougall's work. And again, got a lot of time for Dr. McDougall. I think he's incredible. He's changed my life. But that's one of my big criticisms. There isn't so much of a focus on exercise. So I think this person needs to make a change. It's hard for me to advise what that change might be because I don't know this person. But at some point, you have to make a tweak. That's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Do we take any supplements? Yeah. I mean, I'll just say right now. Yes, obviously. Oh, do you? Oh, and my kids. We do take supplements. I make sure we all take B12. I mean, we all should be taking B12. And there's an argument, even people who eat the standard American diet or just regular meat, dairy, and eggs should be taking B12 as well. But specifically, my family, we take Complement, love Complement. It's awesome. It's one vitamin with B12, omegas. I think for the longest time I struggled to find anything with omegas and B12 in it. So this has its selenium, all the things that could be missing from a vegan diet. So we take that. What about you?
I take also a multi, and it is true. It's very hard to find a multivitamin that we say vitamin here in the UK, Tia. Vitamin.
You also say
that's the correct
aluminum.
Aluminum.
You say aluminum?
No, I say aluminium.
Okay.
Aluminium. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Although that's one of those things people are always like, can you say aluminum? Can you say aluminium? But I don't know where, because I've never said that in a video ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I don't know how people pick up on this, but yeah, it's a British thing. But so I take a multi, and yeah, it has various things. It has B12, of course. It actually has a little bit of iodine, because iodine can be tricky to come by on any diet, unless you're eating a bunch of seafood. Excuse me, not seafood. Goodness me, that's definitely
Seaweed,
not seaweed. You got it. Soy sauce, iodized salt, etc. It's pretty hard to come by. So it's got a bit of iodine, it's a little bit of calcium, tiny amount of zinc, which isn't a problem for me, but it just comes with a multi, so I'm happy to accept it. And DHA as well, so omega-3s. So, and I think that's really important. Now, there's obviously two questions here. The person only asked one, and it's a great question. But there's also what I take and what I recommend. So I recommend, actually, if you don't mind me saying, Tia, that all vegans, as standard, take B12, take DHA, so omega-3, and crikey, what's the third one? Vitamin D. Vitamin D, vegan vitamin D. I recommend those three. There's a list of secondary things that you might wish to supplement, but they aren't necessitous. And they are things maybe like, I don't want to make it too confusing, but things like iodine, calcium, for some people iron, albeit not a majority of people. So then there's that second category that might be a good insurance policy, but those are the three.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are the three I make sure we're all getting.
Yeah.
Anything else is just icing on the cake. But yeah, okay, good. Let's see. All right, what are your top 3 absolute must-dos for weight loss? This is putting you on the spot here.
Don't care what other people think of what you're doing.
Okay.
And that might sound obvious, but it is definitely something I think we can all say that is easier said than done. It sounds nice, doesn't it? Don't care what anyone thinks of you. It sounds nice, but to actually practice and live that, really hard to do. And not to, because you're a human, you're a social creature. So to always be immune from wanting other people's approval and validation, that's a difficult thing to do. So that's number one. And I know that usually wouldn't make a list like this, but that is one of the biggest barriers I see time and time again. You know about this, the social element. It is tricky. 2, everything I said about fiber right at the start, focus on fiber-rich foods, because not only is fiber incredible for a number of reasons from a weight loss perspective itself, but there's also this indirect effect whereby fiber is associated anyway with so many good foods. Now, there are some fiber-rich foods that aren't necessarily the best foods, quote unquote, for weight loss, but they're an exception to the rule. Generally speaking, if a food is high in fiber, you can pretty damn well bet that it's going to be very good for weight loss. So number 2 is make sure there's plenty of fiber in your diet. In the US, the UK, the Western world generally, extremely deficient fiber nowadays, causes all sorts of problems beyond just obesity. I'd say number 3 is it's not about doing what's optimal. It's about doing what you can adhere to. And that goes across the spectrum, whether we're talking about food, whether we're talking about exercise. So many people get the weight loss textbook and they're like, right, I'll go and execute on this. And they crash and burn because they wind up doing 5 boot camp classes in a week. They're only doing HIIT workouts. They may be going into the gym, again, multiple days a week when they're a complete newbie. Perhaps not working with a personal trainer, which I think you should do the first couple of times you go to the gym. And certainly if you're lifting weights, there's a few more things to negotiate with lifting weights than cardio. But that's it. People do the max. They do the juices and they do green salads. And they wind up having an aggressive calorie deficit, burning way too many calories for their metabolism and for what they're intaking through exercise. It very rarely lasts.
That's sustainable. Yeah.
So it's that slow. I know it's cliche and we both talk about it, but it's the slow and steady thing. Not falling victim to doing the most and getting the fastest result. Being more moderate in your approach, conservative in your approach, can serve you very well for the long term.
Yeah, that's good. I agree with those 3. Those 3 things. I think that's great advice.
And potatoes, that's the bonus one.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Anytime I feel like I'm not being satisfied, because it happens. And that's another thing I don't think I talk enough about is that it happens. Like, we're all human, and there are times where I'm not as great as I've been. I don't eat as great as I have been eating. I do pretty good, but I'm just saying, anyway, so if I find I'm not being as full or satisfied, man, those potatoes will
Hit the spot.
really work. Hit the spot.
Stick to the ribs. Stick to the ribs.
Yeah, stick to the ribs. My dad always said that about grits, or what else is it called? What are grits called? Other people call them.
Polenta?
Polenta.
Yeah.
Polenta. My dad used to always say that. Stick to the ribs.
Anything that's starchy and anything that's heavy, and then also if you sort of correlate that with foods that have a low calorie density, you've won. You've won because you get so much satiation for so few calories.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone just asked a question. I'm gonna do one in the comments below. How do you lose weight being vegan on steroids? Now, I'm assuming this is medication, not like trying to buff up. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it depends exactly what the chemical you're using in question is what I would say. Because, again, most steroids, by definition, are anabolic, which means they make you gain and they increase potentially inflammation in the body, your ability to gain muscle mass. So it really depends on what the chemical is. So that's a very tricky one to answer. But my advice, there are nuances, but generally speaking, my advice to anyone from any background is incredibly similar. Every now and again, I have a client that we up their fat intake ever so slightly away from the typical sort of whole foods plant-based model. Every now and again, maybe I do the same with protein. Maybe I even lower protein or fat. Every now and again, I'll break my sort of rules about steady state cardio and I'll have someone do more high intensity stuff. But generally speaking, my advice to anyone from different backgrounds, people taking different medication, it's generally incredibly similar. So it's all the stuff I typically advise. I'd need to know a lot more about you and your situation. But generally, I don't view it as being particularly different from what I talk about day to day anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. During or before your weight loss journey, have you ever done a detox? I'm going to answer that and say no. I don't really see, this is my opinion, detoxes is necessary, but I do think that a whole food plant-based diet is a big giant detox. That's as detox as you can get. So I didn't. Did you do any?
No. For some reason, I don't know how, because I've made so many weight loss mistakes over the years before going plant-based vegan in 2015, for the 3 or 4 years prior, back in my Gym Bros days, there were always times I was sort of trying to lean down. I made every mistake under the sun, but the one thing I've never done is gone to that sort of down that detoxing rabbit hole. For some reason, I've always been very wary of that, and I'm glad. Mm-hmm. I think the process of detoxification is a very real thing, but this idea of a detox diet, there's so many issues I have with it. So many issues.
Yeah, same. I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, I feel like eating a whole food plant-based diet is the best possible detox you can do. This person says, no question, I'm just happy I started working with Ryan.
Who is it?
I cut off the name. I would love to say. I printed these off and cut it off at the top.
Got it.
Okay, thoughts on alcohol in moderation, 1 to 2 times a week while losing weight or maintaining. I'm holding this with my hand. Thoughts on alcohol. Well, yeah, mine is more black and white. I would say don't do it. Don't drink it. Yeah, it's just extra calories you don't need. And I think we all know, I definitely experienced this a lot. The more alcohol you drink or consume in one time, the more inclined you are to make bad decisions about food and other things. So my thoughts on it are, don't do it if you're trying to lose weight and you're struggling. I'm not saying don't ever drink alcohol again. You don't have to go to those extremes like I did. But if you're trying to lose weight, I wouldn't do it. Extra calories you don't need.
Totally agree. It's one of those things that there's literally no way of wriggling out of it. Alcohol is awful for you. Awful. Yeah. And there isn't much anything you do to sell the plus sides of alcohol, which there are some. I'm not so indoctrinated into what I'm doing here that I deny that alcohol isn't a wonderful social lubricant and whatnot, and it can lift your mood and whatnot. But it's almost, again, a self-justification, isn't it? Alcohol is terrible for you.
Yeah, it is.
Now, just because something is terrible for you, does that mean you need to avoid it? That's a different question entirely. I would say to a degree, and this is, I actually feel almost slightly nauseous saying this because I don't want this person to think that I'm saying drink plenty of alcohol, because I'm clearly not. But I would almost say you can get away with what you can get away with. And if that is your barometer for success, to have as much alcohol as you can while still losing weight, fair enough. But I can't lie, that's not a healthy lifestyle. To have alcohol even twice a week is not ideal. But again, compared to what you were doing before, it could be a huge step up. And if that is the case, I congratulate you for making the changes you already have. But of course, I can't advise you have lots of alcohol. I do drink alcohol, to be very straight, but it's incredibly infrequent. I don't know if we've ever spoken about it, Tia, but I've been very transparent about this on Instagram, YouTube. It's extremely infrequent. If I'm going out with a beautiful young lady, I'm going to have a G&T.
Absolutely.
But I don't go crazy, and it's not often. And I don't promote it.
And you're not trying to lose weight.
But that's also, again, I'm talking quite a lot about the health side of things here. You could get away.
Yeah, that's true.
You can get away with eating Pop-Tarts and still lose weight. The question really is, at what point do you think, right, I've got to step up here? If you go from drinking 3 or 4 times a week to twice, that's wonderful. But after 3 months of doing that, are you just clinging on to it? Is it time to go to the next level and just limit it to once every 2 weeks, for instance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Let's see, hold on. All right, we did this. Oh, here's one.
Go for it.
This says, "Hey Ryan, how hard or easy was it working with Tia? Did she respond well to your suggestions?"
Do you want the truthful answer, or shall I send this person a message after and tell her the truth?
Truth.
Working with Tia. Tia was one of the first people, maybe the second or the first, I can't quite remember now because it's back in the end of 2019, to start my Slim and Sustain program. I was doing coaching before, but this program that really is now my flagship, you were either the first or second, I can't remember. You were either the first or second on there. I don't know if I mentioned it before, maybe the first. And not that really influences the answer whatsoever, but there is a degree to which you were a test dummy. In the like I knew it would work because I trust in what I do, and as I say, I was already coaching before. But you were in effect one of the first people on this new program, so you never quite know until you've done it 20 times how it's going to go. And now I've done it over 200. So, but with you, transparency, 10 out of 10, no joke. Tia, guys, she is legit. The Tia you know, I've said this a lot of times in videos and whatnot, the Tia you see is real Tia. There isn't some demon in the closet there. There isn't some bad PR scandal that's going to come out. Tia is Tia. She really is like this. And I know it's in human levels of positivity and talking, but she is like this, guys, honestly. And so transparency, you're very open with me. You were like, these are my problems. You never held back. You told me things that people don't usually tell people after years knowing them, and you told me in the first 10 minutes of a call, and that is always a good sign. And like I say, your attitude, positivity is wonderful. Just to play devil's advocate with this and make this answer a bit juicy, we've all got weaknesses. I've got plenty as a coach, and I would actually say simultaneously, and I've just thought of another strength of yours, which is you're a very fast learner, so that's another one. I would say simultaneously, Tia, if you don't mind me saying, I think I've said this to you before, your biggest... This is again, it's simultaneous. So this is both one of your biggest strengths. Do you? And one of your biggest weaknesses is that you think for yourself. And that is both problematic and brilliant. Because as a coach, you need the trust and the compliance of your clients. It sounds almost evil and vindictive and manipulative. No. But you need their trust and respect. You need total compliance. Otherwise, you can't really change them. And you are you're so independent and self-sufficient in your thinking that I think there are times where you'd go away and you'd unlock a rabbit hole about a certain subject, and I'd just have to reel you back in. And I think, again, simultaneously, this is a wonderful strength and wonderful weakness. Have I said that to you before? It doesn't surprise you, I'm sure.
No. I mean, this is a problem I have with all aspects of my life. Right. I'm just, I figure stuff out myself, and I could go into a big conversation about that. My daughter actually is the same way, and there's a struggle here already. She's only 5. But what you have told me before is that it's great to be positive, but sometimes I'm too positive. about, there was a lot like with eating. Like maybe I was hitting a wall with something, and you wanted to figure out how to get down to the bottom of it. I was a little bit more like, oh, it's fine. We're gonna figure this is gonna be fine. And you were like, sometimes, Tia, you're a little too positive. It's you know. I remember you telling me that a few times, and it made me realize, when it comes to food and health and weight loss, that there is an appropriate time to maybe not be so positive and to try to figure out what the problem might be.
That rings a bell. That makes sense. Yeah, I can't remember that conversation, but that is something I would say.
We've had it many times. Trust me, I
would say, because I love positive people. I'm very positive-minded myself. It doesn't always come across because I'm sometimes very serious, but I'm very positive-minded myself. But I think the problem isn't that you were too positive. To be very clear, the distinction is if someone is too positive, that they're in denial.
Right,
so
that's right.
Even now, to this day, without naming names, and I love my clients, but I've got a couple of clients right now, it's funny we should talk about this, who they're losing weight very, very slowly, but they're so grateful for how far they've already come on this journey that they almost accept it, and it could be more, and they could push themselves further. But you sort of lean a bit more into acceptance after a while. You get conditioned to slow weight loss sometimes, too slow weight loss.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get conditioned to your plateau and you're like, yeah, but I've already lost 20 pounds, so this is pretty good, right? And yeah, maybe, but if it wasn't really your goal, then it's just a self-justification to stay where you are and not push. So you were never too positive. You were too positive that it sometimes made you in denial. That's the distinction. Make sense?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I come from a family of big denial people. So.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So you picked it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good question, because even though it was about me, it still helped answer some stuff for others out there. Here's a question from down below. Can Ryan touch base on tips to help with emotional eating and nighttime snacking?
Big one. I think let's start on the latter. So, because those are different things that sometimes can be the same thing. There's lots of causes of people going off track and succumbing to cravings that aren't always emotional eating. Emotional eating is a term I think that gets sort of mislabeled quite a lot, and people often designate themselves as an emotional eater. You dig a bit deeper and you're like, actually, you're not an emotional eater. You're eating because of temptation or circumstances. Emotional eating is something quite particular and different. So maybe we'll come on to that later if we have time or another time. But with nighttime snacking, there's usually a couple of things at play here. One, it's habitual because people have done it for 20 years. By far and away, this is across the board with my clients, this is the time of day that people mess up the most is in the evening for many reasons. And one of them is because it's very habitual for people. And secondly, there is a shift in the rhythm of the day that makes people more susceptible to going off plan in the evening versus in the morning or afternoon. Again, this is a rule of thumb. There are exceptions, but there is a shift to the rhythm of the day. And this is probably the most important bit of advice I could give to this person. So many people with nighttime snacking, the feeling through experience that they're trying to achieve and thinking that food is the solution to that because they've learned that pattern of behavior, it's become familiar to them, is decompression. That's the big one. And then I would say second to that is boredom. People turning to food in the evening out of boredom because in the daytime, there's family responsibilities, more so perhaps than in the evening, arguably, if you've got young children, certainly. And, there's work, there's school life, and so on. You're busy, you're occupied, your mind is focused. You don't have as much time to think about food. And so that's when boredom eating can creep in, most likely in the evenings. But typically with nighttime cravings, I think the thing people are looking for is decompression. They're looking to literally decompress. And it's not quite the same as boredom. I know it sounds similar, but almost looking to relax and change of pace and go into the next phase of the day. And for some people for years, they've learned falsely that food is a vehicle to doing that. Does that make sense? So basically, I know this is very conceptual, but you have to break that connection in your mind that food is the tool and is a utility to solve your mental and emotional problems, because it's not. It's inappropriate. Food is only for nutrition. That's it. And that's very high level, and it takes a long time to get that. And I still even make mistakes with this. Again, I'm still a human being. But the more you can break that connection between feelings and food, generally, the more weight you're going to lose, or I should say, the more potential you have to master your weight and health. Does that make sense?
So let's dive into this just a tiny bit more, because I feel like this is a big issue for lots of people. Because like I said earlier, you can read all the books there is to know about what to eat. Here's exactly how you're going to lose weight. But if you have an emotional and mental tie to food or bad habits, it's not going to work. It might work for a week or 2 or 3 weeks or a month, but in the long run, it's not going to work because you have these bad habits. So what would you say would be a way to stop the nighttime snacking? Because I've always recommended, going for a walk or doing, reading a book or doing this, but sometimes those things are best done during the day. At nighttime, like you said, you don't want to go for a walk. You just want to decompress. So do you have just one way that someone could try to break that emotional tie? Because to me, that's an emotional tie. That emotional tie they have to food in the evening.
Well, let me literally go into like live coaching talk with you right now as an example to answer the question. I promise I will answer the question. What helps you relax, Tia? Because there are things across the board that help people relax, but we also have our own quirks. Okay.
Right now, specifically Downton Abbey.
Okay. British approved. Very good.
Yeah.
You'll be talking like me soon. Aluminium, darling. Aluminium.
Trust me, I've had
taking my vitamins, darling. Yeah.
Anything British on Netflix, the Castle series, about all the old castles, the kings and queens. And that's my relaxing right now on Netflix.
Right. And for some people, their answer to this question is a hot bath. For some people, it's having a warm drink. For some people, it's reading. For some people, it's doing some yoga. You basically have to find appropriate tools to take you into that new, like I said earlier, phase of the day and match the rhythm of the day that don't involve food. Or if they do involve food, they're at least good foods for the time being. Healthy substitutions is a bit of a gray area. It's a bit sticky, so I don't want to go into that too much, because healthy substitutions, despite contrary belief, can be very dangerous. Sounds dramatic, but it's true. Because ultimately, again, this is still an emotional thing where you need to appropriately get to the next stage of your day without thinking there's some deficiency there, right? You just need to ultimately be able to take it on the chin and move to the next portion of the day with nighttime cravings. Or if it's stress or boredom eating, another form of emotional eating, you need to correctly be able to manage your behavior rather than looking for external things to fix those overwhelming, uncomfortable feelings. The thing with emotional eating is it's so, feelings, uncomfortable ones, they're so overwhelming that you get erratic. You can see this in people's body language when they get stressed or when they're bored. They get erratic. They're like going to the fridge, or they're like get on the vending machine. They have an argument with their boss and they're straight to the vending machine. Their whole posture changes. Just watch me there, the difference, because I was trying to embody it. The difference is huge. So you need to basically, as clinical and as ruthless as it sounds, you need to be able to just let the emotion do its work, because emotions and feelings, they're there for a reason. They tell you what to do next. We don't have emotions and feelings for no reason. That'd be ridiculous. They are here for a reason. And so you need to channel and listen to those things. The problem is every time you go for food, when you feel in a tough spot, and it's not down to physical hunger, but emotional hunger, you stuff down and you ignore. You can't be at one with those feelings, so you don't learn what you need to learn. The reason why you feel uncomfortable and maybe turn to food in the evening is because you think food is going to help you decompress. What you really need to do is just sit still and decompress. Now, there might be things like a hot bath, like reading, like yoga, like talking to a friend, catching up on your partner's day, putting the kids to bed. There might be things that just allow you to do that naturally anyway. But the problem is, if you're always using food around that time, you think it's the food. You train yourself that it's the food, and you get familiar with that, and then it's a habit. And we all know what happens when something is a habit.
It's so true.
You don't need to think about it; it just happens. So you're not even mindful. So it's about getting mindful again. So if there's something like for you, if it's watching, a bit of Downton Abbey, and that helps you move into the next portion of your day, good, do that.
Well, and let me add to that, because I was trying to be funny. It is true. I'm obsessed with Downton Abbey right now, but I've never seen it. Like, my mom and sister have been getting me to watch it forever. And
I am the only British man who has never seen Downton Abbey.
What?
I know.
Well, I say that, and I'm just now watching it. You should watch it. But here's the reason I bring that up. I found myself falling into a bad habit in the evening, sitting on the couch with my husband. I love that is our time together. It is so great. We love watching documentaries and talking about stuff. But I found myself, and we are all human and this happens, falling into a bad habit of wanting to snack. Okay. And that's okay. A couple nights I'd have a little bit of popcorn. You and I talked about this. You and I talked about my popcorn recently. I have a little bit of popcorn. Not a big deal. I'm in maintenance. I'm maintaining. It's not a big deal. But it started to become a habit. And I recognized it. And I knew there was something else that I needed to change. I needed to change this habit. I needed to get out of it. So I started to just by myself have some alone time, go in the bedroom, and I said, I'm going to start a new series. I'm going to watch Downton Abbey, and I'm just going to flip through a magazine while I watch it. I'm going to give myself something to do, whatever that is with my hands, that doesn't involve eating, because I was not hungry. That's the thing. I argue if you're hungry, well, yeah, eat something. But if you're not hungry, and more often than not, people are not hungry in the evenings, they're just looking for something to do to make those emotional feelings better, whatever it is. For me, I think it was boredom. Not that my husband's boring, but I just needed time to
Is he
myself.
watching?
But he keeps walking by. He told me yesterday he wants to come in the back and be like, you know. But no, I think for me it was not only boredom, but I needed alone time. I don't get alone time, and that makes me emotionally aggravated. I get very aggravated. I get flustered. And so I figured that out. I forced myself to figure out, why am I wanting to snack? And I was wanting to just suppress that aggravating, that feeling sorry for myself, feeling that I don't get alone time. So what did I do? I said, you know what? I love you, Jordan. I love our time together, but I need alone time. And if it's only in the evenings, that's going to have to be okay right now. And so now I've been going in the bedroom, started my own Downton Abbey series, and I flip through Forks Over Knives magazines, and I am fine. I don't think about eating. I'm so wrapped up in the series. And so that change helped me. That's not a change that might help everybody. But the reason I say it is because I think, like you mentioned, we've got to realize what is going on. Why are we reaching for food? If we're truly not hungry, why are we reaching for food? And what can we do to fix that emotional
void, hunger, whatever it is? Yeah.
Whatever it is. What can we do to fix it? So for me, that's what it was.
Sorry.
I'm done.
You did 3 amazing things there. 1, you were self-aware enough to spot this pattern. Okay, it might have taken a few days, but you got there. A lot of people don't. Number 2, you identified the actual problem, which if you weren't self-aware, you couldn't do that. So you were like, okay, here's the problem. You know, I'm getting aggravated. Sometimes when I'm around people, that doesn't help either. I think I need to go and withdraw into myself for a little while and have that introspection and just chill out. And then 3, you made a plan. Self-awareness, identified the actual problem, made a plan to fix it. And it sounds like it's working. So good for you.
Absolutely.
That's the process that people need to go through. That's why I highlight those things.
It's so great. I have a nighttime snack in like 2.5 weeks. And I'm fine.
You're alive.
I don't need it. I'm alive. I don't need it. And now,
let me ask you this.
I got rid of that bad habit. Yes.
Because you actually sat with your emotions and you listened to them and you allowed them to guide you rather than distracting with food or with other vices, alcohol, cigarettes, whatever, because you actually allowed yourself to sit with them, and you might say no to this, but it's a good test. Is your mood...
Hold on real quick, but... Okay, thank you. Sorry. Jordan.
The suspense is huge.
Okay, is my mood...
Is your mood better now, day to day?
Absolutely. I am not.
Because you process the emotion.
Yes, I have more patience with my kids, with my husband. Because, for me, if I don't process that emotion, if I'm feeling sorry for myself, I am not the best mom. I'm not the best wife. I'm going to be honest. I'm yelling a lot. I'm aggravated. I'm feeling sorry for myself. And those are the things that always, for me, would make me reach for food when I'm not hungry. So, I think doing the coaching with you helped me realize why I was reaching for food and how I can recognize it and making a plan to get out of it. That's the thing. If there's no plan.
What's going to change? What's going to change if there's no plan?
You can hope and wish all day long, But if you're not acting on it, if you don't have a plan of how to get to A to Z, I mean, this isn't very vegan to say, but my sales manager used to always say, you can't eat an elephant in one bite.
Right.
You're not doing it. You have to take small bites to get there. You have to have a plan. So anyway, yeah.
That's brilliant.
That was good. That was a great question that person asked.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
All right, let me see if there's another one in here real quick. Let's see. Hold on. What's your take on the importance of hydration? I mean, you need to be hydrated, absolutely.
Nothing controversial. Be hydrated. Yeah, very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. For moving fiber along. For the feeling. I mean, there's so many times where I think I'm hungry and I'm not. I'm just dehydrated.
Hydration is like sleep. It's one of those things that there's so many benefits to it. Your life becomes so deficient if you don't do it correctly that it literally ruins your days. So it's integral to your health and well-being, hydration. Yeah.
Yeah. Pamela says she just goes to bed when her kids do, and then she's not awake for the nighttime snacking. That's
right.
a great idea.
Yeah, because if you don't sleep,
idea.
That's the thing. If you don't, I've had this with clients as well. We got them to actually have like a routine to go to bed, because we noticed that, I'm thinking of one particular client recently, we noticed that they'd always snack after 11, literally never before. Because if they were still up at that time, they would start to get, as in their words, snacky and grazy.
Yeah.
And so they also struggled to sleep. So we combined the two things together. We actually got them an evening routine, which is really hard to get into. But once you've done it a week, it's just normal, it's natural, it's habitual. And then it's all good. And you hit two birds with one stone, so to speak. Peel two oranges at once.
Yeah. I say hit two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Kay Domini says, does the fiber and or its effect change at all when you blend it? Like blending beans into a dressing?
No.
Yeah,
No. I mean, there are things that happen. Here's the way to sum it up. Nutritionally, there's very little that happens when you process a food in a blender, but the sensation is what can change from eating a blended food. So that's the way I always sum it up, is food, nutrition aspect, the same, like with the smoothie, but the sensation is different.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. Ooh, we're made to chew food, not drink it. Okay, so A. Perez Jordan says, hi. Just wanted to say hi before I hop off. I lost 15 pounds plus 5 more since working with Ryan after spring break. 4 weeks of it, I was actually on vacation in Costa Rica. Good job. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I believe it.
That's Angelica. I posted her one of her before and after photos recently. She's amazing. She's done a really good job.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. We have about one more. Now, this is a good question.
Rapid fire.
I could answer this, but I want to see what your thoughts, since you are a weight loss coach. How do you handle this? How might PCOS or hypothyroidism impact weight loss? Slower or the same? And I can tell you, though, that it can absolutely make weight loss go slower. But how do you handle that if you have a client? Have you had any clients with hypothyroidism or PCOS?
Absolutely. The first thing you think of just on, and I agree with you, it can make things slower. It's not to say it will. And it's also hard to test, because you'd have to clone that person and then to not have a given medical condition and then do the same stuff. So you never know if it's getting slower, do you? It's a very hard thing to test. But yeah, basically any health condition that affects hormones, metabolic rate, so your metabolism, the adrenal system, gut bacteria, any medical condition that can affect those big 4 things, there are others as well, but those just spring to mind, can be a threat from a weight loss perspective. Does it mean you'll never be able to lose weight? In most cases, absolutely not. And that's really key to stress, because the amount of people who have PCOS or hypothyroidism, or, for example, going through menopause, these are the common conditions or phases of life where a lot of people that are going through these things tend to believe that it's because of poor information for a large part, because they have these things, it means they cannot lose weight. And over time, it becomes a crutch. And to anyone suffering with that, I've done it. I've worked with people that struggle with these things. We've had amazing results. So hopefully that's just some I don't think of myself as inspirational, but hopefully that story just, oh, okay, I can do this.
That
I
is
want people to know
inspirational,
that.
though.
Yeah.
Because I do think there are people who think that they can't.
Yes. But the things that affect hormones in particular are very, very tricky. And medication can do that too, regardless if you have a medical condition. If you're on the pill, for instance, ladies, these are things that absolutely can slow down weight loss. The big question is, to what degree do they slow down weight loss? The science is a little bit fudged on this. Generally speaking, with hormonal conditions and medical conditions that have a big impact on the hormones, you're looking at somewhere between 10 and 20%, according to the science. I say that very tentatively. There's a few problems I have with those numbers, because how can you know? But so it can slow things down, 10 to 20%. I believe it can be more as well, depending on what the actual condition is. There's a good chance it can slow things down, but no, in most cases, it won't stop you altogether. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's good, because someone else had asked had mentioned that they're struggling being postmenopausal. They have no thyroid. So that's a good.
Yeah, thyroid's another. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thyroid's another one. This might be tough to answer, but I'm just trying to be helpful. Is there something that comes to mind that people who are struggling that don't have a thyroid, is there anything in particular that you do for those people, or you recommend, or is it just kind of you need to
expectation management? Yeah. It can sometimes. That was a joke, but it can sometimes just be expectation management. Saying to the person, "Look, you've got underactive thyroid, you've got low functioning thyroid, or whatever it is, or you've got this condition, you've got this." It means that maybe we can't shoot for that sort of benchmark of 20 pounds in the 90 days, which is what I'm always talking about, which is sort of my barometer for clients that come on board with me. That's the initial goal. To a degree, I said it as a joke, but to a degree, it is expectation management for some parts. Then depending on, and Dr. Neil Bernard, by the way, has got some incredible work on this, depending on what the particular condition itself is, there are things you can change. And certainly diet and exercise wise, there are things that I have my clients that are going through menopause, for instance, that have PCOS, for instance. There are things, or low functioning thyroid for that matter. There are things slightly that they do. There's slight deviation from what some of my other clients do. So those things do exist. It depends on the particular condition. Look at Dr. Neil Bernard's stuff. He's got some incredible stuff. I think he's got a book on hormonal conditions and how to feed those correctly. So look at him. I take a lot of inspiration from his work on hormonal problems. So he's been a big influence for me on this particular subject. Other things too, this particular subject.
He's got a great book on it. I actually have it. And what was I going to say? He also has a great, I don't know where it is, a great podcast with, I think she's a dietitian or doctor who had PCOS.
Okay.
And switched to a whole foods plant-based diet and totally healed herself from it. It's an awesome podcast. Someone who doesn't have PCOS or ever experienced it, I was totally focused on it. It was just such awesome information. So
I think I've heard it.
It's really good. I'll link it, because I plan on sharing this on Instagram and YouTube. So for those of you who are just now joining and are like, oh my God, I missed pretty much all of this, it's going to be on my next YouTube video. I'm going to put it on the end, so don't worry about that. But I'll link that. So I'm not going to ask the next question, because it was pretty much around that. Someone had asked, is there a different diet recommendation for someone in perimenopause? I think we kind of just
and there are some. So, for example, I worked with a client recently, and we made the decision to increase calcium as well. So, again, like I say, there are minutiae and there are small things, but for me, I have to be very careful with this, Tia. I have to be working with someone. I have to have their trust, and I have to know exactly what the rest of their diet looks like, every fact around their medical history, to be able to give my best advice on how nutrition should. So that's why I might be being quite vague, but there are small things you can change. But generally, you are eating, if you're eating whole foods plant-based, you're eating an incredible diet for hormonal conditions, for the vast, vast, vast majority of medical problems. So you're already, that's step one.
Yeah. You bring up a great point too, is that you kind of got to know that person's situation and what they're eating. There's so much more sometimes to just what you can find out there. And I've talked to a lot of people about this just with weight loss in general. They'll say, well, I'm doing what this person is doing and it's not working. Well, that doesn't mean for some people just going away from the standard American diet and eating a whole foods plant-based diet, they'll lose weight. I did not. Everybody's different. So yeah, it does help to have someone to talk to if you're struggling with whatever it is, PCOS, losing weight, health issues. It helps to just talk to someone who's an expert. That way they can kind of dive in and really figure out what is going on.
They need to know you.
Yeah.
They need to know you. And you know, there's some amazing resources out there. Your channel and your channel growth, I said to you the other day, is absolutely outrageous. So you're obviously doing a lot of stuff right, and it is amazing. Is a brilliant resource. Books are a great resource. There are some people that literally need to work with a particular person so they can have advice that's tailored to them. And then one step further is to actually have that on an ongoing basis. This sounds like a roundabout pitch for my coaching, which it isn't, but it could be. You know, if you want the max results, you need someone to actually come in and go and listen to you on the phone for 20 minutes and then go, got it, I know what we need to do. You can't get that from a book. Otherwise, you're just copy and pasting. And that's a dangerous game to play, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, there was a wasp. I'm deathly afraid of wasps. Anyway, it went away. So I think
it's all that fruit. It's all that good produce you've got in the house. It's
smells it.
Yeah,
smells
they love citrus fruits as well, don't they? So yeah.
So we've been on for about an hour and 7 minutes. Does anyone have any other questions? We've gone through all the ones that I printed off.
Really, that was quick. Yeah. Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a question before. If there's any more that come in. I mean, it's your live stream. I don't want to hijack it. I'm taking over. Yeah, guys, get your questions in. But
it seems to be fine inside.
But I have just in case any come in. In the meantime, I've got a question for you, which we're all dying to know. What are we doing about this darn Saucy Vegan Mama cookbook cover? Because I am sick of hearing about it. Which one are we doing?
I have not decided still. I just feel like it's like a saucy vegan mama, so it should be a person because that's the saucy vegan mama. But the one photo that I have, I'm just not the best quality. And this is rare right here. Like I only wash my hair and put makeup on when I do YouTube or Reels or I'm talking to someone. So maybe today, since I have makeup on and my hair done, I can take a photo for the cover. But as it stands, it's going to be a photo of food with
sauce. Can I share my thoughts?
Yeah.
So I watched your story yesterday, and I think I do always vote on them. And because you've done a few stories over a few days about this, as you've gone sort of back and forth.
Very conflicted about it.
Yeah. Well, what I thought yesterday is I agreed that you should be on the cover. But the photo you proposed, it doesn't work well with the fonts and the colour. So that was the problem. I think if you can find another one, like you say, you might have to take a new photo. Fair enough. I don't necessarily think it's key. Like the thing is, with what we do here, this might sound condescending, but you know I don't mean it in this way. With what we do here, our stuff, it's not going to be on the Amazon bestseller list.
Right.
So everyone, and this is, I know that sounds rude, but the reason why I'm saying that is, and by the way, I don't think what's on the Amazon bestseller list always dictates what a good book is anyway. So that's the first thing to stress. But there's plenty of keto books on the health list of the Amazon bestsellers. But what I would say is, it's like most books are out into the public domain, then reading Saucy Vegan Mama, people will be like, what on earth? And the word saucy as well has got connotations in the UK that I don't know if are the same in North America, so I'm not sure. I think you probably know.
Probably.
But, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But it's not, it's borderline. It's not too, weird or erotic or anything like that. It's appropriate. It's just about, it's fun and playful. It's appropriate. It's not too far.
Yeah.
But I love it. So I also don't think, because it's yours, do you get what I'm saying? Because it's yours and it's not going, and you're not, making it hard book or anything like that yet. I think you don't need to worry about this as much as if it was.
Well, I plan on having it printed, but it's more so just to get people engaged and having fun.
Right. So it doesn't matter if
because
you're on it.
ultimately it's going to be what I want. but I do want to know what people think. I think I'm going to stick with the food. It'll be fine, and it's almost done. I know I keep saying it, but it's hard to be a mom. Summertime. Anyway, okay. So I'm glad I got my time.
We're looking forward to it anyway, for sure.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. One thing I want to say about this, and I didn't fit it in there because it's not a weight loss book, but I am every so often saying stuff like, if you're trying to lose weight, eat this sparingly, like, you know. So I would keep that in mind. Like, yes, it's gonna be a great book full of sauces and but you know, don't go overboard if you're trying to lose weight. Extra calories.
I mean, I'm not privy to exactly what's in the book, but I do look forward to getting it and having a read. But there's obviously, it depends what goes in each of them. Some will be more appropriate for some people than others. So the annoying thing is, I know you know this, it sounds rude, but we don't mean it from that place. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's just my opinion. It can be very frustrating when you constantly have to say to people, look, here's a recipe, but it might not be appropriate for you, because you want to help the person and you want to give them actionable advice. But it feels wrong as somebody that teaches this stuff, doesn't it? To just say, to not give the caveats like, well, this isn't always appropriate for everyone. So I know it sounds boring and like we're sitting on the fence, but there's a reason why we say this stuff, guys, because stuff that we do, stuff that I eat is not always appropriate for everyone else, and vice versa. And so you have to sort of factor in, I know it's hard to do when you're a beginner, but you have to, tailor your diet to you. I know that's hard to do, but very important point. It's a good point.
Okay, here's another one. Are you okay with staying on a little bit longer?
Yep.
Okay. Tips to stay on track when your spouse isn't vegan. I'll answer this one.
You should more than me, yeah.
Because this was my problem in the beginning. I just made sure I had staple foods in stock, things like frozen rice. I mean, I talk about this all the time on YouTube. I've recommended this to people I've talked to on the phone with the little one-off sessions. You've got to have staple foods in stock that are easy. You can throw things together in the pot and make a quick, easy meal. I'm not talking a 30-minute meal. Nobody wants to make a 30-minute meal when you're thinking about the rest of your family and have to make a meal for them. I'm talking quick 5-minute, 10-minute meals. And that's what I love to share so much with everybody. If you can stick to that, it's not a problem making meals for other people or being in the house. At least it wasn't for me. It wasn't a problem for me eating a whole foods plant-based diet when I was quickly filling myself with satisfying carbs and filling fiber, and then my husband went and ate something maybe I used to eat. It wasn't a problem. And guess what? I have 2 friends who have actually switched over to eating this way, who have husbands who not interested at all. And they I wish I had them here right now, because they would tell you getting to eat carbs, which we're meant to do, and eating all this fiber. When my husband would order a pizza or bring ice cream around me, wasn't a problem. Wasn't a problem. So I would say have the foods in your house, never run out, because when you run out, that's going to be tempting. And make sure you have quick, easy meals to eat, and you are filling and getting satisfied every meal. I'm not saying go overboard, because you can't eat too many calories. I'm saying eat until you're satisfied and full. And if you do that and you're eating a lot of fiber, you're not going to be tempted.
Backup plans. You didn't use this term, but that's what I was thinking as you were saying. I even shouted it out at one point because I got so excited. Backup plans. Things that are fast. They might not be perfect, but things that are quick. A can of baked beans, right? Frozen rice, microwavable rice that has got a little bit of oil in it, but it's for emergencies. It's not for everyday use. And the only thing I'd add, and you've got way more experience with this than me, obviously, so we've got to defer to you on this. But the only thing I'd add, and I'm going to quote a very good friend of mine on this: honesty, trust, respect. If you have that with the person you're living with, you'll be fine, even if they come from a totally different view on nutrition or veganism. Honesty, trust, respect, you'll be fine. If one of those 3 gets broken, you're in serious trouble. So always be amicable, always be respectful and honest in your conversations. Ask this person not to do what you're doing, but for your support or for their support, and do it nicely. And if they love you, they can't say no. That's the beautiful thing. If you are sneaky in your strategies. If you surprise them with what you're doing, it's going to end in a disaster. Honesty, trust, respect, that goes both ways. So you need that with the person.
One.
And sorry, one final thing. Sorry, Tia, one final thing.
No.
This is what you've done amazingly. You've brought people with you. Your family have seen what you've done. And of course, you are responsible for lots of the food decisions in the household anyway. So there's a certain element that they have no choice but to conform. But also, you share the stories with your lovely kids, your cute kids anyway. They're excited about you putting the cucumbers and the carrots into a smiley face. They love that. You've taken them with you because they've seen your success and because they love you and look up to you anyway. So that's the other thing, guys. Lead by example.
No, that's so true. Lead by example. And having that support. And for me, a big one was just communicating, like letting my husband know how important this was to me. If they don't know, they're not going to care as much about it. You have to communicate and let them know, like, I want this to be my life. I also made a stance and said, listen, you eat what you want outside of the house. I will not buy, and I really don't want you to bring in. My issue wasn't so much like chicken or anything. It was pizza and ice cream. I was like, please stop buying the gallons of ice cream. Stop. And don't order pizza. If you and the kids want pizza, do it when I'm not around, or take them. God, I love some alone time. Take them to a place to get pizza. But please don't order it here. And then after a while, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, like I was saying, if they ordered pizza or got ice cream.
Yeah, they're like, oh, Mom, of
I
course,
didn't care.
they hate it. Yeah. But boundaries.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing with respect. Boundaries not force, that's the wrong word. Boundaries create respect. If people think they can continuously cross your boundaries, it's over. It's done.
Yeah.
So, you've got to be strong enough and have enough self-respect to say, no.
Absolutely. All right, let's do one more question. This is a good one. What's the best exercise for weight loss? Cardio, strength training, or both?
The big one. Do you want to go first?
I'd say cardio, absolutely. That's my opinion. You're the weight loss coach.
There are many metrics to assess. This is going to be a mouthful, but it's very important, so I'll go slowly.
We want to hear it.
There are many metrics to assess how effective a given exercise is for weight loss. So there's many things that can make or break how helpful an exercise will be to a certain person in terms of weight loss or whatever their particular goals are. Calories burn is a very, very big one. Arguably, and I do argue this, the most important from a weight loss perspective. And so if you're going by the calories burn metric, cardio always beats strength training.
Right. And I'm going by that metric.
Yeah, so the potential calorie burn with cardio, now of course it depends what the cardio is, but generally it's not just higher, significantly, in some cases 2 or 3x higher than with weight training. The amount of calories that are 155, there's some great Harvard data on this. The amount of calories that I think a 155 pound person at my weight burns in like a 30-minute walk or a 30-minute yoga session is very, very low. Now, these would be classed as forms of cardio. It's very, very low. But generally, things like swimming, cycling, running, team sports, martial arts, etc., skiing, rowing on a stationary machine or in the sea, these things are incredibly high in terms of calorie burn. Weight training is much more in line with walking. It's about, for a 155 pound person, in about 30 minutes, it's less than 100 calories. Walking and strength training, very similar. Now, strength training does have a wonderful, for want of a more scientific term, because this is the pseudo term, but this does exist, it has a wonderful afterburn to it that cardio doesn't always have. But generally, in the calorie burn metric, cardio wins. And it is important. So if I'm to give a simple answer, which I never do, and I'm spieling here, aren't I? If I'm to give a simple answer, cardio wins for weight loss.
I knew you were going to say.
However, there are so many other metrics, such as metabolism. I mean, some people, you see this a lot with runners, the amount of running they do and the calorie burn effects it has on the metabolism can actually make running less effective for weight loss than strength training. So a lot of people do over-exercise as per the amount of food they're feeding it. They ruin the metabolism. There's less risk of that with strength training. Strength training also increases muscle mass, lean mass. And when someone has higher lean mass, they have higher BMR, stands for basal metabolic rate. In layperson's terms, that person can eat more calories because of their lean mass.
Yeah.
So it's actually beneficial for the metabolism. So it is very simplistic for me to say that cardio wins, but it does. It's the truth. As I see it, that's my assessment. But that's only by the calorie burn metric, and that is very important. But weight training is great too. I would say, to sum it all up into actionable advice, sorry to take so long, T, but I wanted to explain the ins and outs.
So good.
For actionable advice, focus mostly on cardio, but it would be a huge mistake to completely ignore strength and resistance training. It's incredible for weight loss, but it's also incredible for other areas of your life.
Absolutely. You're so smart. You know that?
Thank you.
You're
It's
very
true.
smart.
Very
smart.
It's good questions. It's good questions. So
they're great questions, and I loved this. We need to do this again for sure. I think there was a huge amount of value that you brought to this live,
so.
And I thank you so much for doing this with me.
No, you're welcome.
I don't know if I should just make this my YouTube video for this week because it's gone like an hour and a half. It's not. I might actually, because I'm still going to do a YouTube video, I might actually do half of it at the end and then do the second half the next week.
Okay.
Might be good. Might be a little teaser, although all these people have seen it. But anyway, it's been awesome talking to you. Do you want to add anything?
Not a thing. Thank you very much for having me on.
Follow your Instagram and
Ryan Adams UK. Ryan
people were
Adams
asking.
UK. Yeah.
They were
at
asking.
Ryan Adams UK. Yeah.
Ryan Adams UK.
Thank you for having me. And I'm now about to go and have a very much, because it's late here, a hungry vegan mama approved potatoes and lentils meal. Sadly, you won't like this though. Sadly, no cheese sauce, I'm afraid.
All right.
I know.
I find that
Heretic.
y'all don't really, the people out of the US aren't really big cheese sauce fans.
Nah, it's such a divide because all of my, not all, I'd say 90%, I haven't conducted surveys on this. 90% of my US and Canadian clients have cheese sauce very regularly. 0 of my European clients. It's quite hilarious. Yeah.
So
it's just a difference in cuisine. Yeah.
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 We are apparently very cheese heavy.
You are. Yeah. For sure.
Which makes sense. So, all right. Well, it was good talking to you. I'm so glad I got to Instagram meet you.
Likewise, we'll have you on mine at some point and help some of the moms out over on my channel anyway.
Yeah, we need to. It would be fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Take care.
Ryan.
Bye.